Taylor? Okay.
You are listening to an Echoes of New Eden production and first debate for Eve Echoes. Join us in this historic moment to present to you a live debate, hosted by Rambo and Taylor Rick and moderated by OC Cant Stop. We hope this is the first of many. Enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome to the Echoes of New Eden No Block debate, a first in New Eden history where we have a debate between four major alliances in nullsec. We want to welcome our listeners to the Echoes of New Eden podcast Discord, and to those that are in the audience listening live. Do note that this will be uploaded later for listening pleasure when the debate is over. Taylor. Oh my god. No. You're up. You're up.
What do you mean I'm up? I'm not supposed to be doing anything.
Go over your lines.
I have lines? Oh shit.
Oh my god.
We're doing it
Wow.
This is what you meant by this thing you wanted me to pull up earlier, this document that I never pulled up and haven't looked at? That what you meant? Okay, sorry about that, but this wouldn't be one of these shows without me screwing something up, now wouldn't it? So, this is a historical moment in New Eden. We have the four guests. You said major alliances. It's not really quite all major alliances, but it's the most of everybody who counts anyway in terms of leadership across all of nullsec. So, that's where we are with today's topic. I'm going to stay out of it. I really didn't think I was going to have much to do with this. I'm going to stay out of it as much as possible. I'm going to let Joda and Jakoba and Stoney and Run kind of do their thing and say their thing, and let OC kind of try to herd all four of those cats, and I'm just going to sit back and listen and enjoy. And after the whole thing is over, we'll probably have some commentary between Rambo and I as we cover the week that was, with the new anniversary event coming up as it does every single week. With that said, I'm out. I'm gonna mute. I'm here to listen. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So as he's here to listen, we will be monitoring chat. I'll be doing the back end of things like timing, sound notifications, the recordings, etc. Neither of us will be on the panel discussing any of the topics provided with our guests. We do, however, have OC Cant Stop from Providence Alliance here to moderate the debate. OC will provide questions to our panel in no specific order at his discretion. OC will now go over the rules for our guests and our audience.
Howdy, folks. So, I'm OC Cant Stop. I'm a staff member of Eve Echoes New Eden podcast, and I will be moderating the debate. Fun fact, Providence Coalition, not Alliance, sir. Although it would be cool if we were one. All right, so rules for the debate. Pretty simple. Going to try and keep it, to having people monitor their own time, but there will be some sound effects to, kind of help you not have to track it so much yourself, but be aware just before it ends. Rambo, I don't know if you want to test those before we go in, but yeah. Cool. So each member, you get 2 minutes to answer the question. And as Rambo said, I'm going to shuffle you guys around, so it's not going to be the same order for every question. We're going to try and have the questions flow so that it makes a little bit of sense, easier to follow. You guys don't have to be surprised and then jump into your 2 minutes. All right, so 2 minutes to answer. If someone calls you out during that question, then at the end of it, I'll give you a chance to respond, rebut to the point that's made. I'll kind of clarify that. You get about 30 seconds, and then that original person gets to respond to your rebut. They get 30 seconds, that's the final, and then we move on to the next person on the panel. And then the the final thing is just if you need to contest the answer of something that someone else has said in your time, you can do that. All right. So we're going to leave the time management for the most part, aside from the sound effects, to you guys. Hopefully we don't have to actually mute someone. So if you get the time sound effect, the last one, please try to make that your last sentence. And then obviously the final thing, not that any of us would do this, no ad hominem, no targeting age, gender, views outside the game. Try to keep answers, it's fine if you have to meander, but try to keep answers to the question, right? It makes it a little bit easier for the audience to follow and for people to rebut. All right. So for the audience members, we have an on-air chat for conversation. The guest panel can also read if they choose, right? But just try to keep the conversation, civil. Same stuff. Try to keep the stuff related to what we're actually talking about. That's going to let us have a much better discussion in the time we have. And at the end of the debate, each guest, you get 2 minutes for your closing statement. Each one of you have been provided the questions, in advance. So if you want to check notes at the end, you want to take a second and then respond again in that 2 minutes, then you're all good. And everyone has provided all these questions and rules in advance, as far as I know. So with that, Rambo, time for the intros.
All right. So let's welcome our guests. We have SHH Alliance Head FC and SHH Alliance Executive Council member Joda, as well as Kraken Alliance Executor and co-founder Jakoba. We have TSC Executor and the Grand Moo Bra, Stoney Slutz, and the Director of X Corporation, previous executor of No Please Stop Alliance Run. So it's great to have you guys on. Thank you very much for attending. So in addition to what OC had said, in addition to your allotted time, please listen for this sound effect, in which you will have 15 seconds to finish your answer. And hopefully that was loud enough for everybody to hear, especially while you're talking. If your time runs out, you will hear this buzzer. Okay? And so that's the end of your 2 minutes, and OC will also be listening to that and determining, questions and all that type of stuff. So with all that being said, I'll turn it over to OC. We'll get this thing going. Thank you.
All right, sweet. So we're going to start with our first question. We'll go through, folks. Everyone here, I think you guys have pretty easy names. I'm going to call you by your name, with the exception of Stoney. I might not use your full one. I don't know if we know each other well enough for that. All right, so first question. With all the new content being added to the game and the future content that we know about, how will that shape nullsec moving forward? First person, Jakoba.
Hey guys, thank you. You hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound perfect.
Yeah, first of all, and I said this in the chat, much respect to my fellow panelists, the audience, everybody that's taken the time on a Saturday, so thank you for that. I think this is a really freaking cool thing that we're doing. To answer your question, look, I think that there's been power creep ever since the ships have gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, and to me it seems that supers and then potentially titans are actually making nullsec a little bit of a defensive powerhouse, and the game is out of balance in my opinion. For people that like PvP, whether that be small group, medium-sized group, or even large-sized group, my opinion is that at the game it's tilted far too much towards defense, far too much towards protection of Care Bears at the expense of good quality PvP content. And my hope is that NetEase observes this and shifts the balance a little bit so that we can get back to blowing shit up, having a good time. I think it's good for industry. I think it's good for our PvPs. I know that some Care Bears won't like it, but at least for me, both from my executor position as well as being an FC and somebody who thrives on PvP, and I think that this game thrives on PvP, I would much prefer to see that as the new things are introduced into the game, that NetEase balances the thirst for blood out there along with the ability for people to kind of rat in peace. But it's out of balance right now, and I hope the balance returns.
Thank you. Well, that was a really comprehensive answer. Alrighty, so next up, we have Stoney.
Okay, let's see. Start now.
You want me to repeat the question, or are you all good?
It's the with all the content being added to the game question, right?
Yep. How will it shape nullsec moving forward?
If I was being a glass half full person, I would hope that some of the new changes actually give us a reason to fight over resources. Because in my opinion, that's the biggest issue in the game is there's really no space that is arguably better than somebody else's space. You can gather many of the resources in one region that you can gather in another region, or even locally, with all of the tech upgrades, a lot of systems have kind of evened themselves across the board. A level 7 system is no longer a shitty system if you put tech level into it, right? So the issue with that is why move, why fight other than like personal vendettas or something else like that. I want a reason to go and take a space in the game. That way people don't sit and cry and go, oh, you're just trying to kill me. It's like, no, you have a resource that me and other people want. I would love to come invade you for said resource. We see in EVE hundreds of fights happen over moons. It's a very valuable thing. So I can only keep my fingers crossed that things like Titans create resources that we need to gather from regions that we may not live in and give us a reason to actually fight other than being petty at each other.
Nice. So one a more grounded geopolitical reason to attack. That's great, man. All right. So Joda, your turn, man.
Hello there. What was the question? Current.
Yeah, so with all the new content being added to the game and the future content we know about, how do you think that will shape nullsec moving forward?
All right. So I heard Jakoba and Stoney mentioned regions and whatnot. I agree with the fact that there is no current interest with a group trying to go and take another region. Since the resources are the same in all those regions, and that is true. I don't agree with Jakoba's part saying that you got supers, you got this and that. Just because a big ship exists doesn't mean there is no way to kill it. We proved that last week. AOA has proven that many times. You just gotta have what it takes to go and kill it. We, as an entity, we use all that the game offers us to go and hunt for in the name of PvP and content. If you live in Null, you got access to so many type of different ships or different assets that you can use or different tactics that you can use to target your prey. So do we use supers to defend our space? Hell yeah, we do. Why don't you use supers to come kill our supers in our space? Because you don't have what it takes. So if we come to your space and you use supers to defend, keep in mind, we're going to bring supers to kill. So is that imbalanced? No, it's not. Regarding resources, there is a region. It's called, what is it called? Ethereum Ridge. You go over there, you crap, you make over $1 billion in 30 minutes, easy. Why don't groups go over there? I don't know. My group go over there, my guys go over there, they hunt. So there is content, a lot of content in the game. So you just gotta go there, out there, and chase it. Being crabbing or PvP or mining. Damn, I reached 2 minutes, almost. Thought I wasn't gonna last 30 seconds. All right, I'm done.
Okay, that was really good. So you got 2 counterpoints in there. Okay, so I'm gonna give it to Jakoba. So he had mentioned he disagreed with you about supers not being as much of an issue balance-wise as they are. I know it's only 30 seconds, but do you want to make a quick rebuttal?
Sure, I agree with Joda. I think he made very solid points. When we come to a different conversation about small-scale PvP, if we want to open up that discussion, if the audience is interested, then I'm happy to counterpoint. But I think that Joda made very good points. There's excellent content in the other regions, and many parties are guilty of what I would consider kind of overuse of the supers. But it's in a different conversation. It's about how do we create content for 40 or 50 people instead of 2 or 3.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that was a good expansion. Joda, do you want to take 30 seconds to respond to his rebuttal real quick? Again, I know it's only 30.
Hell yeah, bro. How do you make content with smaller groups? Shit, you know the answer, dude. Break AOA. It's fucking 9. Sorry for my language. 9 regions. You can make 20 groups out of it. You'll have PvP every day, every minute of the week, over the day, or whatever. 24/7. Come on, you know the answer.
Alrighty, fantastic. Yeah, that was great. Man, we got a great exchange on the first question. Awesome job, guys. All right, so I'm gonna actually do a second rebuttal here, Randall. Ethereum Reach was mentioned, and that was a really good point because geopolitical resources were brought up. Stoney, did you want to respond to Joda's point about Ethereum Reach being somewhat of a response to that?
Yeah. I'm no crabber, right? But the issue currently with that space is the resources a group would need to put into it in order to, let's call it, disrupt the current powers that be that exist in somewhere like ER. I at least don't think that it's worth it, right? Like, I don't think me losing 5 supers to put a Citadel in Ethereum Reach is worth what I'll crab out of there. But I'm not a crabber, so maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Okay, thank you. And Joda, did you want to do a final response in 30 seconds to that?
Yes. Hi, Stoney. It's the first time talking to you, bro. Nice to meet you. You don't have to use supers for Ethereum Reach. We have this guy. His name is Halsey. He's a legend. He camps and he PvPs there, and he's made the most money out of everybody in that region. You don't have to use supers for a Citadel. You can use tier 8, tier 9 battleships. You can use strikers. You can use navy ships. And any ship that you lose in that region, do not forget, NetEase said that you get a discount on SRP when you try to get it back. So it's already a discounted price for losing ships. It's filled. You can go with like a group of people. Miners can go in. You can overwatch them while hunting. You're not a crabber. I'm not a crabber. Sometimes I do crab, but it is there. Just because it is there, just because you can't see it, you cannot say it is not there. I meant to say, but yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, just to remind everyone, what I'll do is every time we ask a question of a person, the responses and the rebuttals will come right after, and we'll finish everyone before we go to a question. So, yeah, Run. Question to you, sir. With all the content being added into the game and the future content we know about, how do you think that's going to shape nullsec moving forward?
Hello. Yeah, so first part of the question is, with all the content added to the game, I actually don't think much content has been added to the game in the last year, except like cash money grabs from NetEase. So I think the question is implicitly wrong just because there's not actually much content being added. Like, this game is in a very, very bad direction where, like many of NetEase's games, it's literally like the cows suck dry and they're just trying to extract a few droplets of milk remaining. As far as the resting points, I fully actually agree with Jakoba and Stoney, like 100%. Like, if you actually see the player base within this game, it's 95% Care Bears. So what NetEase has done for a large part, and this is following Jakoba's point, what NetEase has done is just basically cater to Care Bears. So as a PvP group, they've actively nerfed mechanics, which enabled PvP to be, smaller groups fighting larger groups. They've repeatedly nerfed this. We've got instances of about 8 times in the last year and a half where they've actively patched certain mechanics to avoid that because they want to favor turtling. And to follow Jakoba's point, which I fully agree on, is that these groups. So by enabling turtling and defensive strategies, such as like the ridiculousness of jammers that can't be brought down, you actually completely favor a world or like a New Eden full of fucking ratters, right? Which makes it dreadful. And you actually limit very much what from an active PvP group can do, whether it be an alliance, a small corp, or whatever. There's still opportunities, don't get me wrong, but it's actually awful. Anyway, I'll continue my point onto something else that Stoney said but my time's ended.
Okay, I mean, I think that was a good one. I think, Rambo, we can do this for the first overage. Run, if you want to take another, we got everyone else got rebuttals, and if you want to take another minute, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm not going to rebuttal anyone because I agree. The other aspect is what Stoney is saying. So, like in Evil 9, as you rightly said, you had Moon Goo, right? And this gave a reason to go to systems and fight over stuff. Like what I've and a bunch of people have been asking is just like introduce chaos to the game. There's no chaos. It's all like really, really calm. Just like continue doing your NPC anomalies, which you've done for the same time for 4 years, right? There's no actual chaos. There's nothing, right? So they've introduced 3 or 4 new regions despite like a player base continuing down, right? Which doesn't make much sense. Why do you open more space? It dilutes the sort of content that you can get, right? And the actual like what you can actually get within that space is as Stoney rightly said, there's no incentive to actually move there. So if you actually introduced a new item, where it be mineral PI, that was significant for something else, whether it be for military or industry, or both, right, in a specific region, and all alliances of the world of the New Eden, had to go and fight over that new region, that would be actually epic. It would just drive the entire game to a new level. But that I really, really doubt that NetEase does that, because it doesn't cater to 99% of the player base, which are just brainless, mind-numbing ratters.
Awesome, thank you. Oh, that was some good exchanges on question 1. We're only 20 minutes in. All right, so we are going to now move to question 2, and just a quick reminder. So each time we ask a person a question, they're going to get 2 minutes. Someone gets rebuttal response time per, and we're going to finish. Everyone gets a chance before we move to the next question. As far as like why we do this, why we try to keep on that question and do the rebuttals right after, is just to try and serve the audience, right? I don't know if we'll have timestamps in the recording after this, but we want to try and keep those points as condensed as possible. All right, so question number 2. What do you believe are the greatest threats to the game, and why? So first person, run. 2 minutes, sir.
I'll be honest, I think the biggest threat to the game is nothing within the game. It's actually the developers, and NetEase is the number one threat. I think if we are where we are in this game today is because of NetEase. And trust me, I've been my biggest enemy, and as far as my corporation, my biggest enemy is NetEase. Like the ones where we've had back and forth and them patching what we do is NetEase. So that on one side. The second side is obviously, as I said before, 99 or 95% of the player base being Care Bears. They want a safe environment. Like, I've lived this for 4 years, fighting these groups in whatever format you want to call it, whether like alliances, coalitions, groups that enable and promote turtling and promote like large groups banding together, which we've seen, for example, in the last year and a half, by Content Coalition being Blue Troll, or just straight up blue, right? Which is 75% of the map for a year and a half, right? Like 75% of the map blue is what you'd find in Chinese Serenity, right? So, and look how that came out to be. It's just an awful state for the game. Like when you don't, so from no, back in the day, the intent was always to split up nullsec as much as possible into different smaller groups, so they would be fighting constantly, right? And just fun environment. But despite doing it repeatedly, fighting the exact same groups that always turtle and group up together, they always end up turtling together. Why? Because it's just 99% ratters, so they just enjoy all being together. So the next threat is the actual mindset of these large groups and coalitions, which don't. So if you combine the fact that NetEase doesn't create chaos, the only chaos that would exist is if players create chaos, but they all end up turtling up. So it's just like you limit to the amount of chaos possible. Anyway, that's my time up.
Awesome. Thank you, man. And then during that point, Run brought up Serenity. I just did a link in the chat for folks. It's a server in EVE Online China. Just we may have folks that don't know. All right, so second person up, Joda. It's your time, sir. 2 minutes. And the question is, what do you believe the greatest threats to the game are, and why?
Appreciate it, bro. So I do agree with Ron there with the developers being one of the threats of the game, but that is something that we cannot fix, because the thing is that the culture of the gaming nowadays is where the developers want to make money, right? There's nothing we can do around it. At least with this game, they do offer stuff, but most of the stuff you can get it by grinding in game. And the one thing about turtling, I get it. At turtling at a large size is very, very bad. But turtling at a smaller size is not that bad, because let's say, for example, I'll take my group as an example, SHEs, where we are in Declan. We have turtle in Declan. Yes. Do we have that because we're afraid of the rest? Nah, bro. They can come. We'll meet them. We have a turtle because we want to protect our ratters and our miners, because they play their game their way. They make their money that way. We make me and you, we make money by killing ships, grabbing their modules and selling it. But the ratters, they don't. They do come in PvP, but it's not their strength. You know what I mean? So it's there for them to exist in. Now, hold on. What was the other threats to the game? Threats to the game, RMT, one which my group has been fighting since day one of this game. We had earlier in the game RMTers and we removed them, or botters. And mega alliances like Blue Donuts, like it is AOA, or like the content coalitions, or like we called them the covert coalitions in the beginning. They formed all of that much power to remove a smaller group, and they couldn't remove that one group, and they removed other groups. So that cannot happen again because, for example, Trog lost their space, but they also lost half their players power. Like it's bad for the player base of the game. But sorry for go ahead.
You're good. That wasn't too bad over. All right. So you did bring up a slight counterpoint to Run. Run, did you want to take 30 seconds for rebuttal, or you think it's not necessary in this one?
Okay, what was the rebuttal precisely?
Well, just he had mentioned that I think he was less critical of Care Bears and was bringing up the point of saying, well, they're different play styles; they might be legitimate. I don't know if you want to. I don't know if there's anything to rebut.
Nothing to rebut. I also would limit the amount of like, unless it's very direct. Like, no, you're wrong. Like, I actually would limit this thing of rebuttal back and forth. It's kind of a bit obstructive, but that's just my opinion. But up to you guys.
Sure. I mean, sorry, maybe I shouldn't use that word. I mean, if you want to clarify or expand on the point that he mentioned, just so that you're able to explain your point, that's possible too.
Yeah, nothing to add.
All right, sweet. Stoney, your question. What do you believe the greatest threats to the game are and why?
Oh, I mean, I think across the board, we all agree that it's developers, because I think that the issue is the things that I could complain about in game. It's not even that they're a problem. It's just that they need to be tweaked. Like, my biggest rant, if anyone sees, is like, I hate that the automatic defense implant is fucking paywalled, because if anyone's tried farming to get one, it's basically impossible. I'll say that it's almost impossible, right? I could have an issue with implants, but there's not really an issue with them. It's how they're implemented, how you farm for them, relative power next to them. So yeah, I mean, it's always a developer issue, in my opinion, more than anything else. We can point at each other and say that some of us are the issues, but at the end of the day, that's just like who's right and who's wrong. We can all agree that things like devs are probably the bigger issue of the case.
Great, thank you. Jakoba, what do you believe the greatest threats to the game are and why?
Yeah, I have a very different point of view than my three panelists. So for me, I look at the game as a playground where the developers provide tools for us, and then ultimately the content creators are responsible for making the game actually happen. That's how I approach the game, and I view myself as a content creator. As such, I think the two biggest threats to the game are what it has been since day one, which is apathy and hate. This is a game that has a very unique community, but it's no different than if we were talking about a social club or being, going to your place to celebrate your religion, or if you play, soccer league, football league, whatever it is, people are coming together to play a game. And if people are apathetic, they're just not going to show up. So we can complain and whine about the different things that happen in the game, but if the game's not fun, then people just aren't going to show up. And so I think the folks that are in leadership, that are in content creation, FCs, people that are CEOs, people that sit on administrative roles, whatever it is, people that make media, people like, that host panels, whatever it is, we have a responsibility for making this game fun. It's the reason why I'm on this panel today, is to help promote our community so that we can get more players in. The second piece, and I don't have as much time to talk because I know I'm running out of time, but the hate in all forms, hate in the form of judgment, hate in the form of extreme assault, hate in the form of every kind of misbehavior that we see in this game, drives away diversity in the game, and it ends up with, we all look like a bunch of the same type of people with the same type of attitude. And I stand strongly against hate of all forms in the game, and it's why people are welcome to take shots at me or call me a softie or whatever. But I believe that people want to play where they can have a good time.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. That definitely rounded out the answers to that question.
So, boys, remember, if you PvP from now on, all right, any PvP, you have to always send love to your enemy, okay? And give them a little huggy and a little kiss on the cheek, because it's all, you cannot hate your fellow pilots in this game. Just a little rebuttal to that. I genuinely think like rivalry and emotions and whether you call it hate, salt, whatever, it's what drives this game. Like, actually, some of the best moments and some of the most intense moments are because there's a rivalry and there's propaganda. That's kind of that's Eve at the end of the day. It's just beautiful. I agree that there's some levels of toxicity which are damaging, right, and unnecessary, and especially if you go into like the slurring and stuff. That's just horrible, right? But there's, to a certain degree, like you want the spicy, juicy rivalry, and some, obviously, with some respect. It's part of the game.
Hey, OC, can I clarify something?
I was gonna say that he was on time, so yeah, go for it.
Yeah, there's nothing better than the rivalries that exist in sports, right? My wife is a huge Buckeye fan, right? And so we collectively, can hate on Michigan, right? If you root for the Spurs, then you're probably going to grow up in a household that can't stand Arsenal, and you're just born into some of this stuff. But I hope that we all know the difference between rivalry and looking forward to those big match days. And if I look at this panel, I mean, I don't know if he considers me the same. I don't know. But when I look at Joda, he's a rival for me in the game, right? And so I have respect for him. When it crosses the line and it turns to hate or otherwise, then I don't. And I'm not saying he's doing this. I'm not saying that. But when I'm in local and I see members from either fleet talking shit that crosses the line, then it's a turnoff for me. It makes me not want to play the game. But I do want to clarify, I welcome the rivalries in this game, and I totally agree. I think it drives the game forward.
Awesome.
Come on. Sorry. So rivalry. When you bring a fight, you better fight, bro. If you run and duck up, then why are you coming in the first place? You know what I mean? Like, it's like we're gonna flirt. That's what it is, flirt in local, because outside of the game, nobody takes what do you do outside of the game. Like, inside the game, we come to clap you, you go run and duck up. I mean, of course I'm gonna flirt you in local, call you a little scared chicken and whatnot. You know what I mean? Because you made yourself, you opened that for yourself, for me to call you that. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm coming to fight you, I'm coming to fight you, and if you beat me up, I'll give you a handshake and be like, all right, I'll see you tomorrow. I'll bring a better tactic tomorrow. And you said that you call yourself a content creator, but if you open your map in game, 80% of the map is blue to you, dude. What content are you giving to your players? We've taken all your PvPers because they're tired of living in your group. You know what I mean? Like, you're left with Care Bears. You're now attacking smaller groups in pure blind. Ooh, it's like corpse from HiSec that we've introduced to nullsec to try to make more members, more pilots live in nullsec. You came at them in the beginning with 40, 50 players. You're down to like 10, 20 players because your pilots don't believe in you anymore. Like, you, in the first time, you said you created Kraken to keep balance in the game, but you haven't looked at what's making the game imbalanced, especially in nullsec. Like, you haven't even touched that. You know what I mean? We'll probably touch it down the line today, but yeah.
All right. Jakoba, do you want to do a final response to that before we move on to the next question?
Sure. First of all, I'm playing a very long game. Kraken is playing a very long game. And as I said when we discussed earlier, the moves that we make on our own timetable. So we're neither going to be bullied nor shamed nor otherwise into taking action. We'll take the action on our own timetable. If other players or other groups in New Eden don't respect our own agency and our ability to make our own decisions, I don't know what to tell you. I think that the conversation about what is content and what is not content, I'm happy to have a broader discussion, but I'm also happy to stay on message because I don't want to start ranting for 2 minutes during a 30-second rebuttal. But if the audience wants to have a debate about small game content versus big game content, I'm happy to have that discussion, but I'll yield the floor.
That sounds great for another time. All right, so number 3, that question will be, what do we believe the greatest opportunities for the game are and why? So, Stoney, it's been a minute since we've heard from you. Your turn, sir.
All right. Sorry, I was distracted trying to finish responding to the last one. What was the question again?
Yeah, no worries, man. What do you believe the greatest opportunities for the game are and why?
Oh, oof. Yeah, that was the hardest question.
So half full this time.
This debate is an out of game thing, but I think this debate is one of the best opportunities for the game. I I said it last week when I was talking. I'm an Eve junkie, and shit like this is half the reason why I play games. I'm somebody who plays games that I can find content outside of just playing the game, so I feel like I'm enjoying it at other times of the day without having to stare at the screen. So more content creators who are willing to make content for the sake of it, not for the glory, is I think that's my answer.
Oh, nice. Out of game answer. Awesome. Joda, 2 minutes for you, sir.
Oh, damn. I'm sorry, bro.
So
What was
I
the
actually
question?
no, that's me. I should have repeated the question. What do you believe the greatest opportunities for the game are, and why?
The greatest opportunities for the game. Um, I mean, who came up with that question? What do you mean opportunities for the game? Could you help me, please? I don't understand the question.
What do you think are some things that we could do or NetEase could do to get more out of the game? Like and that could apply to different play styles, like to some of the points that were brought up earlier, right?
Well, I mean, what NetEase can do? I mean, they could listen to the pilots because the pilots know the game better than the developers. Like, I mean, they already showed it last time when this last update that they canceled, where the other server the players didn't like it, so they took it back, which was good, but they should listen to our players in this server as well. We should have also have a voice. And I think that the game in its current state has a lot of content, and NetEase should allow players to build that game. And like, for example, I mean, because Eve Echoes follows the path of Eve Online. In Eve Online, you got everything. You got PvP and OSEC. You got high sec, low sec. You got war, whatever that thing is in low sec, which NetEase is trying to develop. And I'm speaking with what's his name, Cloud, regarding some ideas. And you also got you got stuff like where you got players who like to steal stuff. Where it's bad, but also it's something in the game that keeps the game alive. And like, I was really mad at NetEase when they did some pilots dirty, where these pilots took a few supers from AOA, and NetEase went and logged into the guy's account and took the supers back. Like, that is crossing the line from the developer side. They should not babysit players. So a player, if he takes risks and ends up getting burned, that's on him. He should learn for the next time. So
Awesome, thank you. That was a good example. You're talking about them canceling that content update based on what Chinese players said and that delayed mood mining for us. And if I say these things out loud, not putting words in your guys' mouth, just trying to help audience members, they may not be familiar. All right, Jakoba, what do you believe the greatest opportunities for the game are and why?
Thanks. First of all, I was the one that actually seeded these questions, and I asked about the threats and the opportunities. So if Yoda, you want to know what the source or who the source of it is, it's me. And I asked it because, number one, I have a point of view on it, but number two, I was curious as to what the panelists' answers were. So I'm getting informed here as well. To me, threats and opportunities are the opposite side of the same coin. So when I look at opportunities, it's going to come as no surprise to you when you heard what I said were the greatest threats. The opportunities are the inverse of that. The greatest opportunity for this game is more fun. Full fucking stop. And it's the content creator's responsibilities, not NetEase.
okay, I'm sorry. I did not mean any offense.
Sorry.
I just did not.
Joda, can you let him finish his response though?
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So for me, I think the burden is on the players. The burden is on the content creators. The burden's on this community. And we can howl at the moon all we want. NetEase is a commercial enterprise. They need to make their money. I'm really hopeful that they make good decisions. When there comes a time that their decisions cross the line too far, then I'm out. In the meantime, they'll keep doing what they're doing. And we can talk about them and the balance of who needs to make money and how everything works in the game. We can have that discussion again if we want to go there. But right now, the single biggest opportunity in the game is more fun. The discussion that Yoda and I were having earlier about what he defines as fun versus what I define as fun is different. and he's got a community of pilots that want to fly with him, and they have a definition of fun. And I have a community of pilots that want to fly with me, and we have our definitions of fun. I'm hopeful that as content creators, we can respect each other, because if we're both in a fleet and there's 20 or 30 people on comms, and we can consistently field people that want to join up in a fleet and join comms and play with us, then the burden's on us to figure out what that fun looks like. And then the opposite of hate really is compassion. And so I won't have as much time to talk about this, but I think the more we bring compassion to this game and the more we realize that we're part of a community and people choose to play this game, perhaps they're... Any chance I can get 15 more seconds?
Yeah. Take it on a minute before it.
Thank you. Look, the fucking real world sucks for a lot of people. And they're taking time away from the real world to live in this fantasy role-playing game. And it helps us to be compassionate towards each other. And good, clean fun, good poking. I don't mind somebody calling me a chicken. I don't mind somebody calling me whatever they want to call me. We know the line when it's crossed. And everybody's got their own line. And I hope that when we wake up and we play this game, even though we want to shit on people and kill people and loot them and be pirates or do whatever we want to do, I hope that we understand that we've got a duty of care to be compassionate, not just to the people that are our fleet, but the people that we're shitting on. Treat them with respect, because they are our opponents, not our enemies. And if we want them to show up tomorrow in another bling ship that we can blow up, we sure as shit better not shit all over them, or they won't come back. And we'll be the ones on the soccer field without anybody to play with. Thanks for the extra time.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. Joda, did you want to take time to respond? You can do more than 30 seconds if you want.
Yes, please. Sorry, Ron and Slutz. Stoney. Shit, I lost my train of thought. Give me a second. Oh yeah, I did mean on your fans regarding asking who came up with the question. I just did not understand it, and it was just a comment or whatever, unnecessary comment. But I meant to say, you have a good idea about content, but you have a bad approach about content, because what you're doing is that you are taking your pilots, because you're calling out where you're going, right? You're taking your pilots to attack groups that cannot defend themselves. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm calling you a chicken, because I'm coming to defend them and you're running away. So you're a chicken, bro. Capital chicken. Right.
Let's try to limit ad hominem. I think you can make the point, without that. But yeah. So, Jakoba, did you want to do a final response?
No, I think he's made his point pretty clear, and I think that the audience, will judge both me and him for it.
Okay. All right. So let's move on to the last person for this segment. So that's Run. And the question is, Run, what do you believe the greatest opportunities for the game are, and why?
Just say it's a bit of a weird question, honestly. Like I've heard it now for 15 minutes. I still don't know how to answer. I would just say that greatest opportunities come from the developers. Like, there's been a list of things we've pushed to be pushed into the game. So for someone that, for example, has done non-stop PvP for 4 years, there's literally nothing else we can do. We've just abused and done everything possible. Like, if this is a sandbox, like every bit of sand and within the limits of the box, we've pushed as far as possible. Like, literally, it just comes down to introducing new mechanics which make it fun. So I'm not going to even, as I said before, it comes down to, like, sure, if you've never done content to the level of PvP for 4 years, and then some people who have just started doing it, say, a year or 2 years ago, there's probably still stuff that you have not done, and it makes sense that they still find fun. But for players who've been doing PvP since the start of the game, and I address PvP because I'm not going to even talk about PvE because it's just awful. It's actually terrible. Like, if you've played any PvE game in the world, in ever, it's just like EVE Echoes is just... There's people who've been playing PvE and done the same anomalies for 4 years, right? So, and that's a lot of people who've done that, right? So as far as the game goes, I'm going to wrap it up, but introduce new PvP mechanics, which make it introduce chaos and PvP mechanics, basically, which is not going to happen, sadly. So, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so it sounds like the point raised there is that maybe, depending on how long someone's playing, they might have a different perspective on the PvP. You didn't get a chance to respond, so I wanted to get that in. But yeah, so let's see, the next question. What do you believe the key attributes of successful leaders in EVE Echoes are? So first person for that question, that's Jakoba.
Thanks. Well, I'm going to answer it with a model as opposed to necessarily attributes because I think it defines it. But I believe in
Sure.
the servant leadership model, which is something that I practice in real life. It's what I brought to the game. I didn't come into the game thinking that I would be a leader in the game. I, came into the game to be a pilot, but I completely fell in love with the game and the community, and found myself in various leadership roles. And I'm a reluctant leader. I didn't push for any of this. It kind of, shit happens. But anyway, what does it mean to be a servant leader? And I'm copy pasting this from the web, guys, so I don't want to plagiarize here. But servant leader shares power, puts the need of the team first, and helps people develop and perform as highly as possible. Instead of the people working to serve the leader exists to serve the people. Every day when I wake up, I'm taking actions to create content and to help support the team and to help people be better leaders, whether that's FCs, administrators, content creators, whatever it is. I believe I have an obligation to help them get better at what they're doing. And when they do that, everybody will improve from it.
Awesome. Thank you. Alrighty. So, question to run for 2 minutes. What do you believe the key attributes of successful leaders are in EE? And obviously, Jakoba didn't just give attributes; he gave a definition and a model, so that's fine too.
Honestly, I'd say in Eve Echoes, in an ideal scenario, every leader is a military leader. Anyone that is not a military leader should not be a leader. So I would put a FC as a leader because this game should be PvP oriented. I feel like I keep on covering the same subject, but I really, really insist on this. Like the leader should be focused on purely on military, and then obviously have people who are more focused on money generation, like admin, bureaucracy, and all that crap. As far as within that, if you like, whether it's like a very PvP focused leadership structure, which I should always be, it would like if every leader in this game actually thought like that, we would have had a way more fun game and way more competitive, um, and obviously less blocky. All right, like less about major blocks. But as far and just to add on Jacob, I actually agree on like a certain level of servitude. Whether you are an FC who's serving, your pilots. At the end of the day, every person who's in a leadership position, regardless of what alliance is, they do dedicate a lot of time, love, and attention into serving and catering to their alliance members and pilots, and that sometimes is not accounted for. It actually involves a lot of work. As I've been a previous executor, I'm glad I'm not in that position anymore. But yeah, for sure, serving, the ability to go above yourself and see a greater vision that where everyone is happy is not something that many people are capable of doing, because it does require a level of empathy, to touch on kind of the cheesy words by Jakoba, but I kind of agree to a degree. But in Eveco specifically, we need military leaders, which to this day, there's literally a handful. Very, very few. And the good ones who were in this game all left, sadly. So yeah.
Nice. From my take. That's good. Um, Jakoba, did you want to take 30 seconds to respond or?
Um, Yeah, what I witnessed in the first couple years of the game is the big alliances that did have one of their military leaders at the top ended up totally burning out because of the overwhelming amount of responsibility, both to run the military as well as the administration of these alliances. All the blue fuckery and all the Sov arguments and all the fucking minutia shit that just is not a lot of fun, if I'm honest. Okay, and so I do think at least in the current versions of the game and the way that we're organized, it does take teams of people to run these monsters, and that's a combination of military capability as well as administration. Else, the people at the top that are trying to take on too much, they just fry themselves, and they just got nothing left for the community because they've just completely melted themselves. I'm taking best efforts to not fucking allow that to happen to me, and that's through delegation and surrounding myself with a great set of team and folks that want to lead.
Awesome. Run, do you want to do a final response?
No, not really. No.
Okay. Alrighty. Stoney, question to you, sir. What do you believe the key attributes of successful leaders are in Evecos?
Oh, um, damn. I don't know. I think being people have already said it, but like being a compassionate person as a whole. I mean, I think that there are every leader that I've respected in this game at a certain point, even if they changed face at another, we're all like very kind and respectable people, even if we were enemies of each other. And those groups, I think, were at their peak, at their strongest, when those people were the most like in touch and compassionate with the game. I think that that's like one of the biggest things that a leader needs to be. And then also like, oh, what else? Just your availability. I mean, everyone has different ways that they run things. I mean, Rick and I kind of talked about it last week. Like, he doesn't deal with all of the chatter from people, and that's fair on his size. But like, if you have a medium-sized group, like, I think it's more important that you're very much in touch with everybody. Like, I'm burnt out a little after 4 years, but still, even then, I'm very close to a lot of the people in TSC. People can generally message me, even if I have other people who they can now message instead. So I think just being close with your pilots is important, and just showing up, you know, even if you can't be an FC and be a leader, you should at least be at everything. You should be at all of the meetings. You should be on all of the fleets. You don't have to be the guy running them. That's fine if you have someone who's a better FC, but you should be there, you know, on the field with them. That's important. If you're not, that's last sentence. If you're not in the fleets and you're the fucking executor, get the fuck out. Don't be the executor anymore. You better be in almost every CTA you can possibly get yourself in. I don't care if you're just sitting back seat being an F1 pilot, bro. Just be there.
Awesome. So, presence. All right, Sir Joda, what do you believe the key attributes of successful leaders are in EE?
Key attributes of successful leaders. Well, a successful leader is somebody who is selfless, listen to his pilots, is respectful, approachable, cares of his pilots or of his group, corp, being that a corp, one corp or one alliance, or two alliances, or 8 alliances, is a person who knows the mechanics of the game, who knows what hurts the game, and who knows what's good for the game. In Eve Echoes, PvP, like Ron said, is the most important part of the game because it gives life to everything else that comes after it, like mining MPI and everything else. Where in PvP, ships are destroyed and they're required to be built by the miners and raiders and all of that stuff. A good leader is somebody who cares for his group first, but also cares for the other groups. For example, if a smaller group is getting hit or, bullied, I don't know, if bullied is the word for it, is getting hit by a bigger group and they don't have the assets to defend it, or the wallet to contract mercenaries, then this leader can be like, yo, to the bigger group, take a step back, or I'll come slap you. Some sense into you. You know what I mean? So there's a great leader learns new stuff every time because even from a line pilot to a leader or executor or FC, we encounter new things every day. They encounter new things every day that they haven't encountered before. Learn from it. Make mistakes. Learn from mistakes. This is learning. A great leader is continuously learning and becoming better. Yep.
Awesome. So, selfless, respectful, approachable, care about your enemy's community too. All right. So, we're going to move on to question number 5. First one up is Stoney. The question here is, do you believe there should be one alliance to rule all of nullsec? Why does blue status and number of regions owned affect the outlook of New Eden to other alliances who aren't as big?
That's like really like 2 questions. Okay. The first half of the question.
If we want to take longer, that's totally fine.
Yeah,
Sorry to interrupt
first
you.
half of the question, should there be one? I mean, there will always. No. The answer is no. There should not always be one. But I think the problem with the game is actually less about who's blue. I think it's more that there's certain aspects of this game that can allow one entity to have way more wealth than other groups that's not necessarily based on what you've done in game. So I think that that's like the actual problem, because in theory there should never be one group that rules them all. Mechanically, that shouldn't necessarily be the case. One person should always have relative advantage kind of to the other, or even number, whatever. But and then what's the second half?
The second half is, why does blue status and number of regions owned affect the outlook of New Eden to other alliances who aren't as big?
I mean, I think number of regions is like very situational on how people like have an outlook on it. I think that there are some groups who are at such a small size that they really could care less. They could kind of give a shit about the grand politics of space. I think let's take a group like Spy, or a group like Nice, who they're at this size where, yeah, they have blue status with people. They see people have all these regions, but it's not really relevant to them. They're doing their thing, and that's fine. They're protected by however the means necessary, right? And then there's groups like me who are like medium size, and there's other medium sized groups out there. I think like people who are in the pure blind region, people like that. What's their Knox's group, right? Where it's like we're a group that's expanding. And so when you need to expand and you look at people beside you have a lot of regions, you start going, hey, why do you have all of those? So it's different for everybody. That's all I'm saying. It's every group size has a different outlook on it.
That's really good. Alrighty. Jakoba, you're up next, sir. So the two-part question, and I can repeat as needed. Do you believe there should be one alliance to rule out of nullsec? Second question, why does blue status and number of regions owned affect the outlook of New Eden to other alliances who aren't as big?
Sure. We covered this when I was on the panel or on the show a couple weeks ago. I am a huge believer and totally opposed to a single alliance controlling the server. And again, I've never played on the Chinese server. I didn't play EO, but I think it doesn't matter. You can draw the same comparison to mega dynasties in sports, where it gets boring as hell, where it's the same organization because they either outspend or whatever tactics they use. It doesn't make the game fun, right? There's no balance there. So for me, my strong desire is that we have a healthy server that has multiple entities. And I don't know if that right number is 4, 8, 10, 20, whatever it is, but I'd rather see us spread out. I'd like to see alliances check themselves. And what I mean by that is, don't allow yourself to get so big that you end up becoming the enemy that that you fear. And I understand many people will hear this and they've accused me of being a hypocrite. I can only tell you that, and I said what I said before, I'm playing a long game, and I need folks to give me time to take the decisions that I need to take on my timetable, not because anybody else is pushing me. I hope that you hear my words in terms of what I want and what I seek for content for this community and for this server. And I absolutely favor chaos. I just need to create the chaos on my terms and under my condition.
Interesting. Okay. Alrighty. So Ron, your turn for the two-part question. So uh, do you believe there should be one alliance to rule all of nullsec? Why does blue status and number of regions owned affect the outlook of New Eden to other alliances who aren't as big?
I think we should all be blue. Is my conclusion. Basically, if we all are blue, right? We basically all rat and drive. Like we basically here's the plan. Okay, we're all blue. Then we all blind plex simultaneously, and then rat aggressively. We make money. All of us make money because plex price goes up. And I think I'm trying to work out the mechanics with Mr. Dirkeder, right? So it's going to be called Equinox 2.0. But the idea is to start doing diplomacy. We're going to open a fund where we basically collect people's money to buy Plex. And the idea is to just rat aggressively so that we're all blue. We're also in talks with AOA because they really like this plan. Partially, they already started doing this around 2 years ago. But yeah, that's I think basically in that scenario, if you think about it, this game is zero-sum game if we all fight each other. But if we all rat aggressively, like really aggressively, it's a win-win. Like we actually, all of us win simultaneously, right? And I think we go far in that scenario, and we just leave behind all these emotions and bitterness and angriness towards each other. We just need like really good leaders, right, who are on track, and they want the same direction going forward of, let's just push the price of this fucking Plex up.
Gotcha. Okay. Sir Joda, 2 minutes for the two-part question. Do you believe there should be one alliance to rule all of nullsec? Why does blue status and number of regions owned affect the outlook of New Eden to other alliances who aren't as big?
Should one alliance rule all of nullsec? Hey, bro, there is no alliance that who's gonna rule mine. The only people who rule my alliance are my pilots, and that's it. If you come for my pilots, it will come for you. And that I want to state a fact there that's why Void, Nilfgaard of SHH killed Void, because Void was so scared that they would come for them. And I don't know what kind of serenade Sarpedon went and sang to Jakoba to make him merge. But bro, I mean, there's no reason for merge. Nobody's coming to kill you as a group. We're all here because we want content. We're at a stage of the game where no group is seeking to erase another group. We want content in the game where it's not 1 versus 4 or 1 versus 8 or like a server war like they did and came to erase us out of the map. And then they got salty because JD said, go make their life so they don't log into the game. They got, why do you do that, bro? The thing is that if you want the game to survive, if you want fun in the nullsec, you gotta have you gotta have more than 5 groups. You gotta have 20 plus, so you can have content. Each group fights each other, and of course you'll have groups that are bigger than one, but that doesn't mean that you have to merge, or it doesn't mean that you have to blue all of the south, or the south and the north got a blue, so you can have content. No, it doesn't mean that. You can. There is a word that exists out there. It's called communication. If a guy is coming to beat you up, be like, yo, bro, please, like, let me breathe. Like, I can't defeat you. You won. You know what I mean? And he'll give you a handshake. Then he will probably give you a hand to get you back up on your feet so you can fight again tomorrow. So, it's very simple. At the current state of the... all right, I'm done.
You want to take another minute? Because we're going to do a response after that.
Yeah, 30 seconds. At the current state of the game, we have AOA who's sitting there comfortably. Botting. We've known this from day one, and that's why we've been at war with them since day one, and they hate our guts because we are trying to destroy. They're sitting at home all day, botting for ISK. It's their job pretty much. We're fighting with how did Riffle said it? We're fighting with employers. We're not fighting with players. You know what I mean? So, like, making them salty by destroying their business, it's juice for us in this game. But you got some other groups who are blue to them and defending them because they feel safe under their protection. Bro, you have nothing to feel safe from. We're not coming for you. We're fighting you because we want content out of it. I get it. But we're not there to destroy you. You don't need to disband your alliance and merge with another one. If you need help, we'll come help you. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. So Jakoba, obviously, if you need to respond to this, you have more than 30 seconds. Like, your alliance and whatnot was brought up. So I don't know if you want to clarify anything or.
I thought what his reference was to Void, and Void's dead. So I don't, if he's got a reference for Kraken, that's different. But Void and Burr are dead. So any references to those, I don't need to respond to.
Okay, sure. Well, your name was mentioned. That's why. Your call. No problem. All right.
No problem at all.
Okay, we will move on to question number 6. All right, so number 6, first one up is Joda again. So back-to-back Joda hour. All right, account selling at RMT is widely frowned upon for numerous reasons. What are your thoughts on how it is affecting the game, and in what ways is it affecting the game?
It affects the game very badly. There is a website, which I'm not going to name, where you got pilots from AOA that sell trillions of ISK. Like, how does one pilot or a group of pilots reach 6-7 trillions to be able to sell it? Well, they have an army of botters. You go anywhere in their regions, where the moment you enter local as a neutral, they will immediately dock up because they have a software who does it for them. They don't do it themselves. So they're not even actually playing. Is that what you're saying? They're playing, but they're not even playing. They're just making money. Like, how is that good for the game? Well, you can send a blue toon in there with cloaky eyes and see what they're doing, and then send a neutral, and you will see the butter react to it. We have players who have documented all of this and sent it to NetEase, and NetEase gives them a slap for like 20 days, 30 days, and then they're back. So what does that tell us? That tells us that it's up to us, like the rest of the game, who play this game, to make a difference, to go in there and make sure that these butters do not undock anymore. So how does RMT hurt the game? It hurts the game, bro, because I have pilots, right? I have friends who mine. I get it. They're miners. I have, what do you call it? Empathy for them, because they like to play the game. They're playing the game with me. When I call the fleet, they're joining me. So they're providing content for PvP. So I have to make sure that their livelihood is good. So how do I make sure that the livelihood is good? Well, this miner is sitting there mining, right, for fucking 4 or 5 hours, trying to build a ship and sell it, but it cannot be sold at a profitable price, because now you got a botter who is botting for 24/7 and is selling this ISK or ship or whatever for real money. And then you got a guy whose daddy is rich, and he buys these ships. You know what I mean? So, and now my pilot cannot sell his ship for profit, cannot pay for Omega and stuff like that. So what does that do for me? Like that means that's a target for me. Like, I want to destroy RMT so my pilots can survive, dude. Because these borders, they don't need to survive. We can live without them. You know what I mean? Because they don't give us content. What do they give us? Nothing.
If you want to take an additional minute, that's fine. We definitely have time, and this is the last question. So, if not, no problem.
I mean, I could come back at I don't know, whatever Jakoba says, because I think he has something to say. But yeah, I'll come back.
All right, we'll go to the next person. All right, Sir Stoney. Well, sorry, Jakoba, did you want to respond to that, or?
I emphatically agree with Yoda. I think RMT is a horrible fucking thing, and I'll go into longer answer. But yeah, I completely agree with Yoda on that.
Awesome, sir. All right, Stoney, it's your turn. 2 minutes. Account selling in RMT is widely frowned upon for numerous reasons. What are your thoughts on how it is affecting the game, and in what ways does it affect the game?
So account selling, I think, is in my opinion, like a conversation its own. Like, I think that there is a problem that there is no NetEase provided function in order to sell accounts. Like, people are aware of like the Eve Bazaar. Like, it is a thing. I don't think that selling accounts necessarily needs to be an unhealthy thing. There are people who leave this game frequently, people who can't play it anymore for like IRL reasons, and there should be a legitimate way to hand off accounts to people in this game. So that's that. If there's nefarious things doing it, like people selling super pilots for whatever, it's obviously every situation is different, but I think there needs to be an in-game mechanic for it. As far as RMT, I mean, I'm really glad that Yoda had the answer that he had, because I honestly wanted to ask. Like, I didn't know, you know what I mean? Like, I don't necessarily see how it benefits people, and that's because it doesn't benefit me. Like, I would love more money in TSC. Anyone could tell you that I don't have the most money in the world. That's probably one of my alliance's biggest flaws. I'll come out and say it. We're not very rich. So like, you know, I didn't see where the benefits of it necessarily come from. And I think the issue is, like, I got in an argument with someone in chat earlier about bots that I have inside of TSC, and I go, send me the information first off. If you see it, send it to me. Always welcome to see it. But I'm not going to personally chase ghosts because it's useless. It's not ruining RMT. If I go and kick 5 botters out of my alliance right now, where are they going to go? Probably to AOA. Are they going to stop RMTing? No, they're not going to stop RMTing. It's still going to hurt the game. It's not like I get more money back from those things. It's not like, and I don't think any of these groups, like, who may have botters in them are getting anything back from it aside from AOA. Like, sorry, no shade, but I think that's the case. I'm keep going. It's a long question. It's the last one. So it's like, I don't think any of the other groups, I don't think Kraken, Shush, Meow, any of us are getting kickbacks from people who RMT within our alliances. So it's like, sure, we can kick them all out. They're going to go to another group. And all of the issues that someone like Yoda talked about for his miners and selling shit is still going to be an issue regardless. So it's like it has to come from NetEase to start banning these people, and not from just all of us policing it, because it's not going anywhere. Like you can't get rid of them if they don't kick them, can you?
There's a good dimension to add. RMT is global. NetEase response needed. Okay. So Jakoba, you are the next person. So question: account selling and RMT is widely frowned upon for numerous reasons. What are your thoughts on how it is affecting the game, and in what ways does it affect the game?
Sure. So this may sound like I'm siding with NetEase, but when I think about the companies that I do business with a lot, whether it be the airline that I fly with, the hotel company that I stay at, the restaurant that I do business with, Netflix that I rent entertainment from, I don't wish commercial demise upon them. It's fucking stupid, right? I want them to be profitable. I want them to make money so they can make my experience fantastic. I need NetEase to be successful. I don't have access to their balance sheet and profit and loss statement. I don't know how successful they are, but they need to make money. RMT takes money away from them. Selling an account takes money away from them. I think that there's a little bit of an entitlement point of view when we talk about selling accounts, because people think that if they've spent money into it, they've invested into the account. I have a different point of view on it. I think when you watch Netflix, you spend money for entertainment and that's that. When you go to the movies, you spend money for entertainment and that's that. I don't see that because you've spent money into a character that that's some kind of asset that you have that you can then sell. I think that hurts the company, because if there's some new player that wants to come in the community, they should spend the money that they need to spend or the time that they need to spend to farm their character up to the level that it is. For somebody to just be able to come off the street and for a few $100s or a few $1,000s or whatever it is, all of a sudden just jump to the head of the line. If that's going to happen, I frankly would rather see that not money go to the community. I'd rather actually see that money go to NetEase so they could pour it back into making the game better. Now, you guys may think I'm naive or that I'm siding with NetEase in that case, but I think in both cases, they're really bad for all of us. NetEase needs to make their money so that they can make the game better so that we can come back and play the game. If NetEase doesn't make money on this, then we're all fucked, right? Because they're not a philanthropy. I also, to Yoda's point, RMT is shit, because if you are going to go hunting some people and then you end up hunting a bunch of botters or ratters, that's no fun, because I don't need to go fight NPCs. There's plenty of that in the anomalies. Anyway, my time is up.
Do you want to take an additional? Because we're ready responses.
I think I made my point. I mean, I don't know all the different versions of RMT. We happen to be talking about botting and we talking about selling accounts. I'm sure there's other things. I mean, I don't know. But when we talk about RMT, what we're basically talking about is a gray economy that is monies that don't flow to NetEase. And if monies don't flow to NetEase, then the economies get out of balance.
Awesome. Stoney, you wanted to do a response to that, sir?
Yeah, because I feel I haven't had a response. It's more, the only thing I disagree with you, Jakoba, is the difference between like Netflix and this game is like I don't put anything into Netflix other than like pure consuming. We put things into this, like we put time into this game. I just think it's a different absorption of content. So I definitely think that's why people have that entitlement, because like they have put work in for that to a degree. I don't think it's fair to say like, oh, I paid for all this Plex, so it's my character. It's more like, well, I did. Some people don't pay for their Plex via money. Some people rat in game to afford their account. So they really did earn their shit, as opposed to just, paying money for it.
Gotcha. So labor versus just spending money. Alrighty. Jakoba, did you want to respond to that? And then we're going to go to Joda.
I think it's a point of view. If people think that the game and the time that they spend or the money that they spend on it is an asset that they then have the opportunity to monetize when they leave the game, it's a different point of view and it's a different business model. And if that's the way that it works, then NetEase would have to design the business that way. And in that respect, I then would agree with Stoney to say, fine, NetEase should figure out how to help that user exit, and both parties can monetize that. But I just don't look at it that way. I look at it as a perishable spend that I'm making. I'm paying for entertainment just like any other form of pay for entertainment. And when I'm gone, I'm gone.
Awesome. All right, Jakoba, you wanted to respond to that question?
And Jakoba, yeah, it's all right. Stoney, don't feel worried about afraid of throwing shade at AOA, dude. They can't touch you. We got your back. If they come for you, we'll come for them. Do not worry. Jakoba, you're not fighting NPCs. There is a way to fight AOA. You deny them access to nullsec. Those who bot. You deny them access to nullsec, you break their business. And do not worry about NetEase making money. You got those super pilots, right? That core, you probably don't know because I don't know if you have a super or not. That core, to get a super, is like a couple $1,000s. And to upgrade it is 3 times that. Plus, whatever the pilots pay every to subscribe and whatnot. It's don't worry about NetEase, bro. They're making their money. They're in Aruba right now. They're in what's that called? That place over there, some islands. They're having the time of their life. Do not worry about them. Worry about what me and you can solve in this game, which is AOA. You're not fighting NPCs. You're fighting actual players who are using bots to run their things. But like I said, there is a way to fight them. And if you want to become that content creator that you said earlier in the week or whatnot, then make it so. Stay behind your words. If I say that I'm gonna come and fight you, I'll stay behind that word. You know what I mean? I'm not here in this game to try to hurt you or your group or anything. Like I said, and one of the reasons that I agreed on this debate, because usually I don't like speaking in front of many people because but was that we can talk, dude. We're people at the end of the day. We can talk. You are looking after your group. I'm looking after mine. We both want to have fun in this game. Content. You like having fun different ways. I like having fun different ways. I use frigates or whatnot, or different types of shit, but it's irrelevant. With AOA, it's not fighting NPCs. It's a bigger picture, and you see it, but you don't want to say it out loud, But it's okay. I get it.
All right, Jakoba, final response to you. Then we're gonna move to.
Thank you.
You're good. All right, Sir Run. You're the man to close us out. So, account selling and RMT is widely frowned upon for numerous reasons. What are your thoughts on how it's affecting the game, and in what ways does it affect the game?
All right, so I might ask for an extra minute on this one. I'm going to try to be precisely quick. Account selling is, the concept of selling is not so much of an issue. EVE Online implemented this, so you actually can transfer accounts between people, and it kind of makes sense, and they implemented it well, and actually CCP earns money from it, so it kind of touches on what Jakoba mentioned. So there is actually a solution for that, right? And it kind of makes sense. I think the problem, if we're going to get into specifics, is that for regulation reasons, I don't know if NetEase can implement that from a mobile game type of perspective. I think that's probably the issue they're going to have. So it's selling accounts has to happen on a secondary market. And I think, as far as what I understood, is that NetEase doesn't have so much of an issue with selling of accounts. Like, they're not going to move a finger over it. The problem is with RMT, and I'm going to touch on this subject now. So less of an issue of account selling. Also, NetEase could monetize in different ways. If regulation wouldn't be an issue, they could actually, like, you pay X amount of AUR, you actually can transfer an account in game. That actually would be quite successful, and they would make money. So Jakoba, from a capitalistic point of view, would be very happy in that scenario. I'm just teasing here. As far as RMT, okay, so number one problem, because you guys have to understand this from a macroeconomic type of view. RMT means that is inflation of ISK. Inflation of ISK means that the price of PEX goes higher, and the cost of just surviving in the game is a lot higher, right? So one of the main issues we have in this game is actually new players, right? So there's two aspects of this. A new player that comes in, and we recently found this in a certain server. A guy came in and he's like, he was mining in HiSec, and we were like, you're getting like 1 million ISK per hour materials. Like, you will literally advance zero on this stage of this game, right? And that is the issue. New players who come in, right? There's the only way they can really try and climb higher, right? Which is they're 4 years behind, is through monetization, right? In terms of paying NetEase money. Which is fine. NetEase has to make money. The problem is that even if you pay, it doesn't mean you're a good player. It doesn't mean you have any experience. So that doesn't. We've seen all the amount of people who lose Ciancis and versatile assault, like Vasses, whatever you want to call them, right? Vasagos and all that crap. The issue is and touching on what Jakoba mentioned, is that the problem on another side is the tech tree has really damaged new players from joining, right? They should completely get rid of it. So it's so hard for a new player to actually climb up and rank up, even spending money, right? But the fact that Plex and ISK is higher means that they actually have to make a much higher commitment of money if they try to like onboard into the game, which actually deters them. So we've had a massive deterrent of new players joining because it's just too difficult to just climb and keep up to the meta right now, right? So this is a major issue, and RMT is a major problem because of it, and it increments the price of Plex, and therefore we just get less new players. Like we've had that narrative and mindset for since the inception of No, and we purposely targeted RMT groups. We've warned certain alliances that they had RMTers. In most cases, they didn't care. They brushed it off. In the grand majority of cases, I'm going to ask for one more minute because
please take your time. You're good.
And so much so that it's funny to hear some leaders in this conversation speak about AOA. So I'm going to give a bit of a story. December 2023. December 2022. I was invited to a group of a bunch of players who wanted the Wardic Silent Alliance, right? And I said to them, look, I understand Silent Alliance is a threat to you, but there's actually a bigger organization in this game that is a much bigger threat to the game itself, right? And I explained to them, I said, and at this time, AOA had 2 regions, right? But we had spies in their leadership channels and their FC channels, like we do with many alliances. We did, and we may continue having, right? So we already knew what their plans were. We knew their insides. We had a large Chinese community within No. So we knew exactly what their play game was, right? And I warned these guys, and I said to these guys in this group chat, and Stoney was there, Jakoba wasn't, but Jakoba probably would have loved to be in that group chat. And I said to them, guys, you have to understand this group will push hard to expand, because if anyone here has played an MMO, right, which many people probably haven't, it's the same recipe time and time again. And these groups are expansionist, and they seek to gain assets through monetary means in terms of actually make real life money, because it's just a common pattern, right? So I warned these people about a year and a half ago, actually no, nearly 2 years ago, and of precisely what was going to happen, and they still allowed it to happen. And to this day, we have now AOA having 10 regions running the entire RMT market. Literally, Plex has gone from 1 million to 10 million, which the rate of inflation on that is just way higher than the previous 2 years, but by a gigantic factor. And that just comes to prove that, what was called at that time actually ended up happening. And now these people call it a problem, right? So anyway, I'll stop it here. But my point is, RMT is a problem, and many people in this chat, actually, from the alliances and groups they actually created the problem themselves by enabling it to happen. And I think it's worth mentioning. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that was a good use of time. Does anyone want to do a response to that before we move on?
Me.
Okay, go for it, Stoney.
You know what, Run? I am not afraid to admit when I am wrong if I am wrong. And while I cannot recall said group chat because my brain can't do that type of backwardsness, I don't think that you're I don't think that you're wrong in that sense. I think that the unfortunate thing is, at that time, I can only speak for TSC, is I'm sure that I had other bigger fears in my mind that were clouding that being a possibility that would happen in the future, or a thing that I had to worry about. But I don't think you're wrong, bud.
I love you, Stoney. I really do. I respect you for admitting that. Actually, let me find it. I can post it, but I mean, if there's any doubts of it, but I posted it a couple times, so it's fine. But yeah.
Awesome.
Also, I add a small thing, and as I throw a little, I actually want to say 2 things about Joda. I'm cool with Joda. His local chat is sometimes horrendous, but outside of that, I really like him. I actually really am a big fan of Stoney and Jakoba. Jakoba mainly because you can say many things about this man, but he is very dedicated to his pilots and to serving them. And I've been in fleets with him. I'm actually been blue and fought with him in the Burno War, and he's very dedicated to those guys. So I might throw a lot of shots, and they deserve those shots. Don't get me wrong, but they're actually I like both of them. I think they're good people. And Stoney is one of the calmest, coolest dudes. Despite me not being a big fan at all of his alliance and many of the people in his alliance, but I think it's worth saying. Both of those things, because I'm cool with Spano. If this Spano wasn't who it was, I probably wouldn't have. Just want to clarify that.
Awesome. All right, guys. So those are the 6 questions we had lined up at the panelists that they saw before. We did ask if we could get questions from the audience, and I think Rambo identified two for us, so we're going to go into that. I did try to kind of shuffle the order. It's not totally random because we don't want to have someone ending up being first every time. So we're going to go into those questions. All right. So the first one is from Kalas, and Run, you're first up. So the question is, and we can post this: Do all of the panel agree that post Server War 3, or whatever number the last one was, that the most important thing going forward is player retention, and that medium, large-scale warfare, shouldn't escalate server-wide going forward for the sake of the game? And that was a larger question, so I'm going to go ahead and post that text.
Like he posted an on share and
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'll read it. I'll read it real quick. Do the pen agree that post Server War 3 or whatever? Yeah, I actually fully agree. I would say that despite the zerging, right? Despite zerging in general is like quite shit. It's a weak side of mindset, and it's very, very common in this game for the last 4 years. It's just like a common pattern. The war against like 80% of the map versus like 10% of map on the gigantic Zerg, that was actually insanely fun. Like the server war is fun, and that sort of content was really fun in general. Even if it had meant the destruction of Shush, it was fun. It was genuinely fun, and fucking what a fight, right? And so many epic moments in that sense. Yeah, so large scale warfare is just normal for EVE. There's nothing. It's always been like that. It's just like the complementary part of small gang PvP and also like large scale PvP is epic. So I'm understanding that question correctly. Large scale shouldn't escalate. No, large scale warfare shouldn't escalate. Yeah, server wide war is sick. Actually, it's sick if it was like a scenario where you're like half the server versus half the server, and actually both sides were competent, right? I've got to say this: many of the alliances in this game are genuinely not competent from a military standpoint, and it goes very correlated to just having a PvE mindset. I even think it's structural. I don't even think it's the fault of the leaders or the FCs. I just think it's just the people who play this game, sadly. It's not even close to EVE Online. Yeah, I'll wrap it up quickly. But yes, fuck it. Large scale warfare. I hope another one comes up, and I've got someone in mind. I mentioned that before. It could be pretty sick, but hopefully not in a Zerg manner, right? Although they do own 10 regions at this stage, so we'll see where that goes.
Alrighty, thank you, sir. All right, does anyone want to respond, or we're going to move to the next person? Nope. Alrighty, Sir Jakoba, and we have that question in chat, but I'll read it out anyways. Do all of the panelists agree that post Server War 3, or whatever number the last one was, that the most important thing going forward is player retention, and that medium, large-scale warfare, shouldn't exist server-wide going forward for the sake of the game?
Yeah, I think there's a big assumption there that player retention is linked to server warfare, right? Because there's a whole bunch of people that Run just said, that really like server warfare. So I think I don't want to give a unilateral answer there. I think there are circumstances where server war to reset the board is a really wise thing, especially if it leads to retention and more fun. And better gameplay. So if you think about it, I would, rather than sort of emphatically saying server war should never ever happen again, I would say it should be used as one of our tools to help reset the board, and then it should very, very quickly dismantle. If I look back on Crabco and the other coalitions that I was a part of, a mistake that we made, which had repercussions across the entire server, was we stayed blue to each other for far too fucking long, and it hurt us.
Awesome. That was, it's good insight, especially, you're one of the few people that can give that one. So, all right, let's move on to Joda. Do all panelists agree that post Server War 3, that the most important thing going forward is player retention, and that the medium, large-scale warfare, should not exist server-wide going forward for the sake of the game?
Yeah, so first of all, it has only been one server war against SHH, and we survived it because we are built different. We other groups cannot survive it. Like, for example, when we went to fight OG, they broke down. We didn't go all together as a whole group in the beginning. They whatever happened, it happened. We went into Void. We had the plans to suffocate them, but we pulled out because we noticed a few things. And Taylor mentioned a few of them. And the other thing that we noticed was players were dropping the game. Does it hurt the player base? Yes, it does. So if server war is needed, for example, to break a large entity like AOA, it should be needed only to break them, but not to hunt their players away. It should be there just to break their group, and also all of the groups in the nullsec should agree against RMT. So if there is evidence that a certain corporation or a certain group is running RMT in nullsec, then that space should be taken from them, and that entity should not be allowed anywhere near nullsec. Have that space available to high-sec players who want to move into nullsec or whatever. Large-scale warfare shouldn't escalate server-wide. The only reason it should escalate server-wide is because the server is hurting and it needs a balance. Besides that, I agree with what Ron said. Half of the map versus half of the map, in like not for the reason to remove a group, but just to fight for the sake of PvP is a lot of fun, and it can be done in a way so okay, like this war is gonna go for a month. All right, let's blue north, let's blue south. All right, let's fight it out. You know what I mean? And that's it. But
do you want another minute, or because you're going to be able to do responses?
10 seconds. But it shouldn't be where the South should merge or blew up just to, for example, I'll pick on Trog again, just to fight Trog. Like, come on, bro. Be real. Anyway, yep.
All right. Sweet. And Jakoba, you wanted to respond to that, sir?
Yeah, I need Joda to clarify something for me, because over the last couple hours, I've heard him talking about not going on extermination campaigns. And in the last thing that he just said, he talked about going after OG, and it sounded like he took pride in exterminating them. I thought that I heard that he said that when they went after Void, it was his intent to also exterminate Void. So I just would like him to clarify what his position is on actually going after entities and exterminating them. And if he could, perhaps give us the reasons why he thought it was necessary to exterminate OG and exterminate Void, unless I misunderstood what he said.
Nah, I'll clarify. So when the whole server came at us, we came at a whole server with separate groups. One of these separate groups was the Mafia Boys in Pant. They went in OG. It was about 15, 20 players. Multi-boxers, a few of them, with multiple tunes because they needed eyes and whatever. Anyway, so OG started breaking. We noticed there were some cracks over there. So that's when we started pressing on the pressure, and OG broke. Why did they break? Because the leader gave up, and when the leader gives up, the other pilots, they can't do much besides to give up. Some of those pilots have come to us, and I am very glad that it had happened, and I would do it again because those pilots are fucking amazing. And we did a bad thing to get something good out of that. And it is bad, I get it, but like I said, I love those pilots, and I think they are in a better place. For Void, I wanted to fucking choke him, bro. I want to choke him because Void, the leader of Void, we've known him since, whatever. I don't want to go too much into intel. Is a pet of AOA. So by choking Void, I don't mean the players, but the actual structure, the leadership structure. Like remove what was the current leadership in Void, and we were hoping for RTI to take over because they were more PvP focused. Like I back up what Ron says. Each alliance group needs PvPs to lead their group. RTI was the PvP of Void, now is in Kraken. But Catskill or whatever, a bunch of Care Bears, bro. Like blowing, anyway, I can go into more details into that if you want. But yes, we were there to remove the leadership structure of Void, so a new entity could be born out of that. But we noticed that a few things were going wrong, so we pulled out.
Nice. That was a very nuanced response that time. Thank you. All right, let's see. So final one up. Stoney. Let's see if we can ping that in the chat as well. But question: do all the panelists agree that after Server War 3, that the most important thing going forward is player retention, and that the medium of large-scale warfare should not escalate server-wide going forward for the sake of the game?
Yeah, for the first half of the question, I think I can speak for my own alliance that any decisions that I make going forward are actually more about what my players will be happy with and even less than what I want. Even if that puts me at like disadvantaged situations, I think it's really just about making sure that people are like logging in and playing and not taking the content that we provided for them away from them via Diplo. Because that's one of the things that would harm us the most. Server wars I think they're great if they have the proper intentions for them. Like if we go back to what I said earlier about, having resources to fight over, like if the whole server went to war to fight for resources, then I think amazing. That's like really fantastic. But as I said earlier about like RMT, like the whole server went to fight, in the name of RMT, I don't actually think it's going to do anything or is like a worthwhile server war, because we're not going to be banning those accounts by killing them. We're just going to go make them bot in different regions at different times in a different group, and we have no actual control over that, in any way. But big server wars are fun. They're useful. They're very fun in this game. I just want good reasons to fight them, not silly reasons to fight them.
Nice. Okay. Sweet. Does anyone want to do a response to that before we go to the next question?
Okay, Yoda. Yeah, supers are exactly what saved Delve, my guy. I don't know how many fucking times you guys tried to invade me. You can do it again. I don't really give a shit, but like I have a pretty good number track on that. I don't care who I had a blue for it.
Can I?
Be my guest.
OZ, can I respond?
Yeah, please.
So no, for real. When we came there, it was our intention to live in Delve, and if supers didn't come out, like if you don't understand the difference, what a super can do on grid, then I don't know what else to tell you. But when supers were about to be released, we rushed our asses back to the north and started working and mining to get them. But if they were not going to get released, we were going to live in your space with you. So it was a matter of, would your pilots get tired of living in that space before our pilots were getting tired of killing your pilots? You know what I mean? So what the answer of that would have been, I don't know, because we didn't leave that day, live through that day. But I'm just saying that was our intention, and maybe we would have achieved, maybe not. But we cannot comment on that because we didn't know. But yeah, but still.
Sweet. All right. Stoney, did you want to do a quick response to that?
Everything's here. No, everything's here. So you know what I mean? Like, sure, I'll take Yoda's word. That's fine. You went back north to farm for supers. That's fine. That's totally viable. I won't share any of the fucking orca kill mails from MO, as you guys made really great attempts to live in our space. It was so successful, you guys. I'm sure you made a lot of money, dude.
Let me take you.
CRB probably made more money taking my FRPs than you guys did trying to live in my space.
Right. Let me take you down memory lane. When we soft back up north.
You guys, sorry. Do you think we can each do a final response to this in 1 minute and move to the next question? Is that enough time?
30 seconds. 30 seconds. I'm so sorry.
Okay, sure.
I apologize. When we moved back north, the Crab Coalition was still under Ozier, right? So you guys came out back north to try to kill the Sov that we just put back. We came at you in caps and everything. So and then when AOA tried to take the Citadel over there, we came at them with supers. So you saw what happened over there. There's videos. Anyway.
All right. Okay. Cool. So that sounds like possibly a good discussion point for maybe a whole other episode. All right. So we're gonna move to the final question, and this one is from Damonzel. All right. So first one up here is Stoney, and I'll post the question as well as ask it. So, as a new player coming into the game now in 2024, what challenges do you think they face, and do you, with all the complexities of the game, what percent of them would stick around and excel? What's that here?
As a new player coming in.
So what challenges do new players face, and what percentage of them do you think stick around and do well?
Oh, I mean, I don't think that any of the challenges of the game are the things that make it difficult for them to stick around. I think it's purely the fact that farming for your plex in game is a near crippling thing to do for a single player trying to get into it. The complexities in the game, we have a lot of educated people at this point on all sides that like understand how to play the game, who are more than willing to walk a new player from step one all the way to getting inside of their own super. I think a lot of us enjoy that. You know, like I miss teaching people shit. It's actually a bummer now that a lot of our people, we can always teach people stuff. I get it. It's not like we're amazing, but it's different than like walking new bros through like, all right, man, this is how you align in a fleet. That stuff's easy. That's not hard. It's literally just like you have to agree to pay money to at least pay for your plex in this game. And if you aren't signing up for that and you don't want to do that right away, it's going to be impossible. But like the new bro who's just going to try it once, yeah, I think that's where they get caught up on more than anything. Getting into the ships is fine. It's like a leadership mentality. You have to persuade a new player to understand that flying a dictator is the more valuable thing for them to do, even though they really want to get into the battleship and maybe are going to complain that they're not the proper tech level, which I think they're getting rid of anyways. So that's really great. If anything, it should just get easier. You just have to explain to people what their roles should be, and you have to provide them those roles. You can't just be like, hey, new bro, get an addictor and then like hop in your fleet and expect them to know what to do. You have to take the time to explain to them what the fuck they're doing. So yeah, that's my answer.
Awesome. That was good. Does anyone want to respond to that? Yeah, the nuance at the end about actually onboarding versus just handing someone a ship. Salient. All right. So Ron, you're the next one, sir. So for new players coming into the game in 2024, what do you think the main challenges they face are, and what percentage of them do you think are going to stick around and excel?
I've touched this previously. The tech tree should be abolished, destroyed completely. It's rubbish. Someone posted, who was this person in KB? Posted the learning curves of learning popular. Eve is actually that's a very good chart. Someone can check it out. Check it out in the on-air chat. That's very precise. And I think NetEase has done a terrible job at like onboarding new players. I think it's highly challenging. I think good player like the alliances like Providence. Actually, I'm gonna say something. I think alliances like Providence are very good for players. And as far as I understand, because we have it's very easy to get spies into Provi, and they actually, and I've had a couple. It's very easy to like. It's very nice how corps there actually treat their players and try to onboard them and showcase them and like throw them in the journey of understanding the game. It's actually surprising. And corps like alliances like that, we need them. That's why I will defend Provi, even though politically they can't let me defend them. I will defend them in Sly. So I might have like alliance spies in their alliance leadership just to know when they're gonna do on a CTA, and then I'll use those spies to defend them without them knowing. Because they're cool in the sense of like they're the only living, breathing thing in the ecosystem that currently kind of nurtures and fosters new players to come and join this different game. But outside of that, of course, it's all player based, right? That new players can enjoy the game. But outside of that, NetEase does a terrible job, and it's actually genuinely awful. By the way, that's the end of my comment. Sorry for exposing your alliance OC. You didn't know that stuff, but I'm telling you now. But,
we have no spies in Providence, obviously, nor capitals. All right. So does anyone want to respond to Ron's point?
Yeah,
Nope.
I just to like add on that there's not enough new player content in the game for them to even have an onboarding system for. Like, I'm no game designer, but I feel like trying to create an onboarding system for nullsec is incredibly more difficult. Like, Eve is much better at that. Like, high sec is a worthwhile investment for a new player. Low sec is a worthwhile investment for a medium, term player. There's just not enough content at those levels of the game to even have some sort of onboarding process. So yeah, I agree.
Interesting point there. All right. Let's see. Got that. Run, did you want to do a response to that?
I'm sorry, but I did not pay attention.
I think, Stu, I don't know if you want to reiterate, but I think it sounded like you were saying you're not sure that having an onboarding process provided by NetEase is sufficient or needed right now.
Yeah, I was just basically run that there's not any worthwhile content for the day one player or the medium I've played for a few months player, like parallel to EVE Online. It's like high sec is worth the investment, low sec is worth the investment. So you can onboard players into those like quote lower tier levels of content. Where in EVE, Echoes, it's incredibly difficult to create, I'm assuming, to create an onboarding system for fucking nullsec like that.
100%, yeah. And here's the thing. So from year one, actually very early, year one, we were pushing the devs hard to do faction warfare, but not the rubbish faction warfare, the low sec one. Like anyone that's never played EVE Online, you actually can start playing and getting involved in the rubbish, like the crappiest shit possible, like a Rifter or something that's just basically like worthless, and genuinely engage in Rifter battles, which are pretty epic in low sec. And that is content. You actually make money, a decent chunk of money, and there's like stuff that new players can get involved in from day one. In EVE Echoes, we don't have that. There's not even a faction warfare now. It's terrible. So I 100% agree with Stoney in that sense. So yeah, nothing to add.
Nice. All right. Sir Joda. So same question for you, sir. New players coming into the game in 2024. What challenges do you think they face, and what percentage of them do you think stick around and excel?
Well, one of the challenges is the tech tree that does not allow one player to fly a bigger ship. And I think NetEase, hopefully if we push them a little more, will eventually remove that. The other challenge is this game requires for you to pay for Omega, and they made it possible so you don't have to pay real money for it, where you can rat and plex for the Omega. But the infiltration currently is very, very high. So that Omega, I think for the basic, it's like what, 170. So it's like almost 2 billion right now to make a new player to make 2 billion. It's pretty close to impossible. So that's up to us to try to fix that. And how do we fix that? By fighting RMT. The answer is right there. What percentage of them would stick around and excel? I mean, it depends. It depends. It depends if they find that group of players, because EVE Echoes is not a game that you play by yourself. I mean, it might be for a few people, but it's much more enjoyable in a large group. So if they find their way into the group, it's 1 second. Okay. If they find their way into the group, then there is probably a better chance to keep them around more longer. But there's a lot of little things that adds to the bigger picture of trying to get more players into the game and keeping them. So hopefully we can come to agree to try working towards that as well. Because if we don't get new ones, we'll just keep losing old ones, and then eventually it will just be a bunch of people. Then the game will be whatever, boring.
You mentioned it was a nuanced point, but it definitely is. Did you want to take additional time because it's our last one?
No, that's
okay.
it.
No worries. All right. Anyone want to respond before we go? Nope.
Not really a response, but a question. Now I know there would be one group that we obviously wouldn't get a sign off from this, But within the last 2 years, has truly all of the null set communities came together to deliver a message to NetEase? Like, have we ever all agreed unanimously on a thing? And like, not saying it would work, I'm not an optimist, but like, have we ever done that? Has that ever been a thing?
Yeah. Can I respond?
Yeah. I just don't recall because I don't remember taking part in it. That's more what I mean. So go ahead.
OC, can I respond? Or?
Yeah, please, yeah.
Yeah, there was this thing where it was made by JT. So in EVE Online, there is a group of players who are selected by the community, gaming community of like the rest of the players in the game. I forget what they're called, but OC probably knows because he was selected. And Ozier was against it because first it was made by JD, and then second because his people didn't get selected or something, and it didn't get to NetEase unfortunately because I guess they didn't care or whatever. But we did try. We invited everybody in the game to participate and select players to what's the word for it, to be our face, I guess, in front of NetEase, our ears, our mouth, our everything, So our representatives. That was the word that I was looking for.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much. Okay, so unless we have a response to that, I don't think we will. Jakoba.
CSM was the original thing with Joda.
Yep.
And actually, OC Cant Stop was the voted leader of that as a neutral representative because obviously there was a lot of rivalry different, and obviously Provi being neutral to entire New Den for 4 years, which is very respectable, and I wish every group was like that, but only Provi's like that. Was voted the head of the CSM. But as far as I'm aware, it got pushed back by the moderators of EVE Echo's Discord, which are really like 90% of them are no life kind of like wankers. And Get a Fix was the main wanker, and luckily is no longer there. So maybe in the future, another time it could be pushed. CSM can be pushed into the EVE Echoes, but I still think the devs will not listen because they do not give a.
Awesome. All right, let me put that there. All right, so Jakoba, you are the one to close us out before we then go to the closing statements. So, yeah. Do all the panelists agree that? Sorry, my bad. As a new player coming into the game in 2024, what challenges do you think they face, and what percentage of them will stick around in Excel?
So I think the biggest challenge in the game is how complex the game is technically, right? So if people play different games and all of a sudden they step into EVE Echoes, it's overwhelming, all the different ships and all the different ways to play and all that other. I don't know what the exact percentage is in terms of the probability of them staying, but what I will tell you is that it correlates extremely high with how quickly they can make a friend in the game. Because as soon as you make a friend in the game opens itself up. Right, a friend will help them get their economy sorted. A friend will help them understand how to be diplomatic, even if it's just making a second or a third or fourth friend. And a friend will help them figure out how to defend themselves. So I don't believe that has anything to do with NetEase. I think that has everything to do with the community. I think when we all embrace that we want new blood into this game, then what that means is that when new blood steps into this game, we should take that burden on to help that person, help convert them into somebody that really fucking loves the game. I don't want to get into a massive debate about the virtues of free to play versus pay to play. I would like to table it for a future panel or a future conversation. I will tell you that I have a point of view that if a new player comes in and the model that is shared with them is, okay, this game's really complex, but there's all this other stuff. But all you have to do is get it. You don't have to actually pay, but you got to spend an hour, 2 or 3 hours a week doing this thing so that you can then play the game. I think that's a turnoff to a lot of people, personally. And I'd be happy to debate that in a future conversation. But I mean, if you've got somebody that's coming in and they're considering a game, those people spend money on other games. They spend money on other forms of entertainment. If this game in this community isn't worth $5 a month or whatever it fucking is, then you got to ask yourself the question: why the fuck play the game in the first place?
Right. Alrighty. Cool stuff. Okay, so that's the last one there. Do we have any responses? Anyone want to respond? Nope. All right, so we're going to move to our closing statements. And I'll use the same order we did for that question. So each of you can take 2 or 3 minutes, talk about whatever you want. Just please try to, we're not doing responses to your closing statements. So try to no ad hominem. Over 2 hours, we only had maybe 2 or 4 of them. So pretty good for the time. But again, no ad hominem, 2 to 3 minutes, whatever you want. All right, Stoney, you're up, sir, whenever you're ready. It's okay if you need a second to compose.
I think if I had any real last closing things, I think that it would, even though I fully agree with Run that I don't think NetEase would listen, I think that I now recall the attempts at making a CSM, and I think that we could try again in just a little bit different of a way. I think that it's really great to have known that OC was this moderator that got voted in. I honestly probably left that server before that even happened, and that's because of personal beefs between me and certain people who were in charge of it at that time, which was petty or not, let's say the very least. But I think there was a better way that whole entire thing could have been initiated. I think the way that it was initiated from the outside felt that it was more silent focused, and that was very clouded by other judgments that were going on at that time. But I think that there's a better way to take that approach, and we can make attempts to do it again. I think it would be worthwhile. And then I will close out on a fantasy that I have that I wish this game had the mechanics for, or that we could come together. I think that I'm no money person. I'm not good at numbers, but I think that there is this thing that was occurring inside of EVE Online, and we don't have this parallel, but it was called all of the big null set groups came together inside of HiSec and kind of had a control on the market that was created up there. This was universal agreements that were made to help further the life of all of their people across the board, and all of the null set groups were benefiting it, so they were all working together in tandem for it. I don't think there's a mechanic for that, but I think if we found a way to battle RMT in game, there's a numbers way to do it. That's my dream, because I don't see those people getting banned anytime soon. So we would have to be very clever individuals. Maybe we'll get Durka to come and help us, but maybe we can fight it another way. I don't know.
Awesome. Thank you, man. All right, Run, did you want to go next?
So next on what precisely?
No, so this is your closing statement. So 2 to 3 minutes, whatever you want. We're just trying to limit ad hominem because no one can respond to your closing statement. So 2 to 3 minutes, whatever you want.
Honestly, I think this is severely declining. Devs don't give a fuck about it. Please don't give them a single cent. They genuinely don't deserve it. So many cool things could be implemented. So many just community building things from an entire global perspective. I don't know if you guys remember, but the Minotaur hunting of the first, second year, the Inquisitor, the Halloween Inquisitor, genuinely things that were, creating where all the alliances in the game came together for a fun objective, right? When they give the officer modules out, those sort of events, right? We have seen none of that in the last 2 years. All we've seen is repeated money grab cash sort of mechanics, which enable nothing but a certain pay-to-win element, which is hard in EVE because money doesn't necessarily buy you skills and expertise. But nonetheless, I would highly advise that every player does not give a single cent to NetEase. They are also, got it confirmed that they're very highly sided with AOA. So this is why it's even harder to actually break the status quo of the mechanics, which are so damaging overall to the remainder of the game. I want to also bring out that because NetEase and the developers won't bring chaos into the game, the chaos has to be generated by the players, as it has been for the last few years. And therefore, I would, as a last straw, which I absolutely no hope whatsoever, given I know the leadership structures of most of the alliances in this game because I've fought them for the last 4 years, to just genuinely promote, inspire PvP and chaos, and to genuinely like fucking gross a pair of cojones, yeah, and go out there and go independent and just fight until this dire game ends and have fun with it in a respectful and cool way. I'm saying that last bit sound a bit more into the Jakoba kind of webinar type of vibe, yeah. But yeah, outside of that, thank you for inviting me. Cool with the entire panel. Respect all of you legit, and much love and have fun.
Awesome, thank you. Sir Joda, 2 to 3 minutes closing statement. We're trying to limit ad hominem, but whatever you want to touch on or draw attention back to.
Yeah, I was looking at this this kill mill, particular kill mill ahead of Stoney. I remember when we were fighting in Fountain, he headshotted my ship, and I went into, I think it was in the honk space in Fountain, where I went to the Citadel, docked up and docked in Ibis, and I was continued leading the fleet in Ibis, and we caught Stoney off of the gate, and we killed him, and I got the kill mill in the Ibis, so that was fun. There's a lot of this game, has the opportunities to provide a lot of fun memories, fun battles, fun everything. But I mean, I had a different perspective of Jakoba before. Kind of changed a little bit, but the fact that his co-exec is a hardcore pet of AOA, and I'm not. What's the word for it? Come on. Jesus. Okay. But I kind of, even though Jakoba says that he will try to keep balance, I kind of can predict what the future of Kraken will be, and it will come to a point where AOA will tell his pet, go fight this. The pet will tell Jakoba, go do this, and Jakoba will do that. And I'm kind of seeing that over there, and I hope Jakoba proves me wrong, but I'm kind of seeing it start with those little corps where they're doing get with the spirit of debate. Well, you can come talk to me, bro. Anyway, I'm down to work with the other organizations. I am very PvP focused, and in the game, I'm down to work with the other organizations to work towards keeping this game PvP healthy. To work with making sure that other smaller groups in the game do not get bullied or removed from nullsec, because I think so far we've all agreed that that we need players to stay in nullsec in order to keep content flowing and going. And I'm ready to fight away, bro. If you want to do the same, fight the RMT Empire, break them down to smaller, so there are smaller groups to fight each other, then we can do it. And also, I want to. I agree with Fran when he says the NetEase does support AOA more than he supports the rest of us, and I'm so sorry. I'm going to continue a little more, and you can mute me if you want. But AOA has this blobs fleet of like 50, 60 blobs battleships that they go around with, and I know that Stoney and Jakoba has not felt that because they're blue, and I get it.
Try to wrap this, because we're trying to not ad hominem for the closing statement. It should be about you and what you want to draw attention to, and not about other panelists.
He dropped the ad hominem again.
Sorry. Yeah, so we caught about one pilot multi-box and 30 blobs battleships. We got the thing to NetEase. They banned them for 30 days, and they're back in the game. So, you know what I mean? I don't know what ad hominem is, but yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so we're just speaking about, we're trying to talk about the issues, not primarily the players, right? Sometimes we need that context, but for a closing statement, better to just, if someone's listening to the summary and they want to say, oh, I did like that point, let me go back and visit that, or maybe see a prior episode they were on, that might be better for a closing statement. Jakoba, you're here to close us out.
Thank you. First of all, mad respect for the panelists, for the moderators, for everybody that took the time on a Tuesday afternoon to actually sit down and listen to what we have to say. Really, really appreciate that. So a heartfelt thank you and appreciation, very sincerely. I want to paint a more optimistic future, and it comes from a point of feeling like I'm in control of my own world. And would really counter some of the negative messages that we've heard, and three messages for three particular audiences, all from a place of optimism. For NetEase, I want NetEase to thrive. They need to understand it has to come in a win-win environment, which means they have to win and the players have to win. And NetEase must maintain the balance. I would welcome the opportunity to live out Stoney's fantasy and support an effort where NetEase takes the players and the community's interest to heart. If I can support that in any way, sign me up. Second message is for every corp, alliance, and coalition in the game, and that you've heard me say this over and over and over, and that is that every pilot matters. Every pilot matters. Doesn't matter if they're blue, they're gray, they're red, they're purple, every color, whether they are PvP, they're PvE, they're indie, whether they're content creators, community builders, whether they're in the media, etc. And it is everybody's responsibility to make the environment here a place where people want to play. That doesn't mean everybody has to play the exact same way. Find your community, play the way that you want to play, and when new people come into this game, nurture them and help them find the right home that fits their play style. And then the final message is to individual pilots, which is control your destiny. Control your destiny. Don't be victimized by your circumstance. If you suck at something, get good. Play the game or the game will play you, and don't be a victim. So play the game or the game will play you. And Kraken is recruiting. Thank you everybody for letting us have this time.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much.
Can I give a small shout out to the 100?
Yeah, I was gonna say, if everyone is a shout out to people, we could do one of those.
To the 100 people who listen to this podcast and just rolling egos, because them and the people making the fucking awesome memes and just sticking around and having fun and just memeing hard, legends. And also thank you for the Eve Echoes of Needham for putting this together, and OC Cant Stop for dropping the good old ad hominems for
All right. Does anyone else want to do a shout out before we end? No? Alrighty, thank you. Well, my shout out to the panelists and to Rambo. You know, it can be hard sometimes for leaders, even if they really believe in what they're doing, to want to agree to do something like this. You know, even if you say something's not gonna, you're not gonna have loaded questions or be attacked, it can be difficult sometimes to come on. So really appreciate you guys doing it. I think the community is better served for it, because rather than holding in their mind this idea of who each of you are and making assumptions, we know what's said, we know we can look up after. So I think that the community is well served. Thank you guys so much for taking the time. Rambo, I don't know if you want to. Sorry, go ahead.
Yep. Thanks everybody. Appreciate your time today. Cheers. See you guys on Grid.
Yep. Thanks for coming, guys.
Okay. All right. And thank you, OC, for being today's moderator for this debate. We'll close it out here. I do want to thank our guests on the panel for coming on and having this conversation with your fellow members of the community. This was the first time anybody has done this in Eve Echoes, and Echoes of New Eden is proud to be that platform that we can actually have this type of conversation, this type of debate on. So I'm happy to be that, to be able to provide that to you guys. So I want to thank OC once again for moderating. I also want to thank our audience for attending this historic conversation. I want to thank my co-host and our staff team who make this podcast what it is today. So obviously we wouldn't be here doing as well as we are if it wasn't for the staff, creating content for our followers. So this will conclude this episode. So please stay tuned. We will do a post-debate podcast episode live here on this Discord. Give me about 10 minutes to prep. I know Taylor's got some words he wants to say. We'll reflect a bit on some of the conversation that we've had. It was record breaking. We had 101 at peak in the audience live in the comms. So that is awesome to see. We broke records in that sense. So I guess if you choose to stay, We'll see you here in a little bit. Otherwise, if you do not choose to stay, thank you for listening. Thank you for attending. And we'll see you out in New Eden. Fly safe.